Okay, welcome to our project-based learning website. This website is designed for Stage 3 students. As you can see here, we have an introduction into our website describing the purpose and a bit on what it's about. And here we have an animation that we created to assist Stage 3 in gaining an idea of what they will be doing and why the website has been created. Down here we then have more information on the types of things Stage 3 can find in our website and how the activities that they will complete will develop their understanding of drought. Okay, so our problem statement is the average household consumes 900 litres of water per day. Australia is in drought. How can you help this problem? So our problem statement is so relevant to everybody in Australia as it is a real world issue that has affected Australia over many years. Here we have a video explaining drought to Stage 3 students so they gain an idea of what it is and how it affects both people and the environment. Down here we have a few facts about drought, and then we have some images, one of them showing the rainfall deficiencies in 2019. Our next page, we describe the assessment task for Stage 3 students, explaining what is required of them. So for example, we have included that students need to build their knowledge on drought in Australia. Students are to use design software to create a solution to saving water. And finally, they are to create a pitch explaining why their product is best. This assessment task falls under science and technology for Stage 3. The skill being design and production skills, the strand is material world, and then we have included the content and the outcomes. Okay, on the right hand side we have included things like the thinking skills, learning across the curriculum, the purpose of the technology used, and the submission instructions.
Marking rubric is categorized into 5 bands, starting off at above outstanding, then going down to outstanding, sound, basic, and limited. At the bottom of each activity, there's a grade, and that's in red, so that shows you what marks are available to achieve in that band. For example, in the first activity, activity 1, the highest amount of marks you can get is 10, and to achieve above outstanding, it has to be between an 8 to a 10. Our marking rubric is further separated into 2 sections with the 3 activities that the students do prior to designing their model. They've got 1 activity out of 10, which is a timeline, another activity out of 10, which is designing a model using Tinkercad, and another activity is a fact sheet. Then moving on to their actual creation, that is out of 20, and to achieve an above outstanding is between 20 and 17, and in each column it tells you exactly what they need to do to achieve that mark. It's clear for the students as well as the teachers exactly what the students have to do to get their marks. So the creation of their system is out of 20, and then the presentation and explanation is out of 10. And for the total, the whole project is out of 60.
The first activity we have outlined for students to create a timeline on their iPads or laptops using Adobe Spark. This timeline will get students to understand the history that Australia has had with drought and the impact that it's had over the years. Students will have to date back at least 50 years. They can extend further if they would like to, just depending on how extensive that they're feeling with the task. We've also listed a few modifications and extensions here, as well as some resources and websites that they can use to help them gather their information that they will need to create the timeline. For the second activity, just again find them on the drop-down box, students have been asked to create a Tinkercad account using their school email address. This activity has been designed for students to become aware of what the possibilities are on Tinkercad, and they can have a little play around and experiment with what they'd like to do, and this will then help them in their assignment task later on. They'll just be asked to create a small structure of a house, just simple for like squares, just so that they can understand what they can and can't do. And again, there's modifications and extensions for students if they are struggling or finding it too simple. And then there's a QR code that students can scan, and then that will submit their activity for the teacher. Lastly, students' activity is to create a fact sheet using the information that they gathered in Activity 1, as well as existing strategies that Australia uses on a large and also small scale basis. They are then to create a presentation using a media of their choice and show examples of these solutions, explaining how they work and their impact that it has on Australia's drought issue. This will then allow students to get a small understanding of what works on a large scale, what works on a small scale.
Okay, so here we have the student work samples for each activity and the final assessment. Activity 1, the students create their own timeline. The timeline was to include the year of each drought, the affected places, we can see here, and the name of the drought. This sample demonstrates an above outstanding mark, and this is a mark out of 10. Okay, for activity 2, students were to create a house on Tinkercad. The students were asked to create a house with 3 bedrooms and a pathway. This sample here demonstrates a student's extension activity, adding the landscape features, as we can see the walls and also the trees. This sample would be given a above outstanding mark for its high detail. This is a mark out of 10 as well. For activity 3, students really bring together all their knowledge. Activity 3 is a really detailed fact sheet that students can present to the class as a pitch. This is a mark out of 10, and as you can see in this work sample, the students have presented the current water saving solutions, the facts about the drought, and the major droughts that Australia has seen. They've also included some images. As we can see, this is a solution for the final assessment. So this one here is a water tank, 2 connected together with 1 outlet, and this is a water timer. So a student could create this to save water. They would obviously tell us how it worked and what they would do with it, how it saves water. And then with this one, they would do the same. This is actually marked out of 20, and students will present this to the class as well. So for our next final page, we have the development page. This is really the page that summarizes all of our collaboration as a team.